Hi, I'm Midge Shoemaker, and today is day 78 of my doing 100 days of YouTube videos and celebrating myself. So, yay, I made it to day 78. Um, so today I was just feel like I'm celebrating more negative things in my brain, and I need to stop doing that. But things that I don't necessarily like about myself, but it's just a part of who I am, things that I have to deal with, and things that I think everybody deals with. In this case today, I decided to celebrate self-sabotage, self-sabotaging, self-defeating. I don't know, because a lot of times I've noticed or realized in my life that I am the person that's standing in the way of my success. I am the person that's keeping me from moving forward. I put up roadblocks for myself. Things start going well for me, and because of my, well, these are my excuses too. I'm full of excuses. But I think just because of my past experiences, because of my trauma, PTSD, things like that, that I assume when things are going well, that something bad is about to happen. It's one of those things where I'm uncomfortable with things going well or being good in my life because I'm expecting someone to come and pull the rug out from underneath of me, or someone to come and take it all away, or someone to take credit for it. And so I stop. I'm like, I'm on a roll, I'm doing really well, and I just stop. And I put up some kind of roadblock, and I was like, nope, just not gonna do it today. Nope, just can't move forward. Nope, I'm just stuck. And it's really frustrating to me. um, but I also feel like, for me, sometimes recognizing that it's me that's putting up the roadblocks. It's not other people that are telling me I can't do it. I have tons of people supporting me and telling me I can do it and waiting for me to actually follow through with it. And I know that God is encouraging me to move forward and to finish the things that I started. So it's just me that's standing in my way. And so, but there's something about it to me, like recognizing what my problem is, or recognizing that I'm the one that's standing in the way. And sometimes I can be like, okay, this is just silly, and I will move aside and let myself do things. And other times I'm just like, okay, I know I'm the one that's standing in the way of my succeeding and of my doing things, and I'm just like, and right now I just don't care. or or right now I'm just like, yeah, I don't feel ready for whatever reason. I'm just not ready. So and maybe there's just other emotional things that I need to deal with that I've been avoiding, and when I avoid all of those things and don't do them, they create the roadblock, basically. So all the emotions and the stuff that I don't deal with, I don't face, start piling up, and then I run into this blockade that I have created, and it stands in my way. I am sabotaging myself by avoiding doing things that I need to do, because if I do all of those things, then I might succeed, and I might be happy, and life might be wonderful. And there's nothing wrong with that, except that my brain seems to think that as soon as that happens, that someone's going to come along and just, run me over or take it away. And so there's that, part of it. What's the point of doing all this work if I'm not going to get anything out of it? But I do get something out of it. I do get a sense of accomplishment. I get to be proud of myself. I get to be like, okay, I did this. I worked really hard, and I achieved this. Even if I don't get the end result that I'm hoping for, at least I put forth the effort, and I can see the progress that I've made. And I've noticed in doing these videos that I've made a lot of progress, especially emotionally, and in changing my thought process. A lot of the way I think about myself, view myself, a lot of my perspective and my thought processes have changed in doing these videos, because I've had to view myself in a different perspective, and celebrating myself, even the parts of myself that I don't like, I think is helping me to see myself more the way that God sees me, and maybe the way other people see me. And it's not as horrible as I think that I am. I'm not as horrible as I think that I am. I'm not as, but I have all of these self-defeating thoughts in my head that I'm horrible, that I'm not good enough, that I can't do it. Self-sabotaging ideas, that it's not worth it, or I get overwhelmed because it's too much. Like I know I'm capable of doing it, but it's just so much and it's just taking so long and it's taking forever and I'm just never going to reach my goal. So, but I just give up halfway there because there's something about, when you start at the beginning, you're just really excited and gung ho. And then at the finish line, you're like, yes, I made it. But it's somewhere in the middle where you're just like, oh, why did I start this project? What was I thinking? Why am I doing this? And I always get stuck in that middle part. And I was just like, why am I doing this? Why am I running this race? Why did I start this project? I am never going to make it to the finish line. And I can see the finish line and I'm like, yeah, that's just too far. I'm just, I just sit down and stop. And then I'll be like, okay, this is ridiculous. I need to get up and move again. And I'll get up and I'll go, a few feet or a few things. And I'm started over. I'm like, this is awesome. And then, oh, this is exhausting. I can't do this. And I'll stop. And I have that mental block, that self-sabotaging thing where I'm just like, oh, I can't do this. It's too much. I can't do this. And it's not true. I know it's not true, but it's that constantly having to remind myself to focus, to be like, okay, this is not true. I can do this. I do not have to sabotage myself. I can get out of my own way. But it takes time for me to figure that out, to recognize that I am self-sabotaging, that I am having these negative thoughts. And sometimes I think it's a very subconscious thing. Like I don't even recognize or realize that that's what I'm doing until I'm struggling and I'm praying and I'm like, why can't I move forward? Why do I keep hitting a roadblock? And it's like, oh yeah, because I'm putting up roadblocks because it's my own stuff that I'm not taking care of, that I'm not facing, that's getting in my way. And it's just the emotional stuff. It's the mental stuff. It's the emotional and mental hurdles that I need to overcome. And just the excuses that I keep building up. But I'm like, yes, I had some trauma in my past. No, I didn't learn the best habits of how to do things or accomplish things. Yes, I gave up a lot of stuff growing up. Yes, it was easier to just let other people take over and do whatever they wanted so that to keep the peace. But I'm an adult now. I don't have to continue that behavior. I can change. I can do things differently. I can follow through on stuff. But those old habits are really hard to break. They're just, sometimes they just really are. And I think a lot of that just kind of, I have one of those stupid default settings in my brain that's just like, okay, we're just not going to finish this. Okay, it's just better to let somebody else do it. Okay, just, we have just enough. Like, I can't ever have more. I can't ever have extra. I can't ever have, leftovers in life or finances or anything else like that. And for some reason, I feel like I have to be behind on everything because if I'm behind, I'm stressed enough that I have to try to play catch up. But if I'm on top of things, I'm like, oh, I don't have to worry. And I just stop. And it's like, no, this is when I can keep going and get ahead. This would be awesome if I keep going and get ahead. And I'm like, yeah, but I got enough. I'm good. This is all I need right now. Um, and that's frustrating to me sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's good. I need to stop because I have what I need, but I don't need to stop. I mean, stop for the day maybe, but not stop for life in general. Because then I stop until I get behind and then I'm like, oh crap, I have to start doing it again. It's like, oh, I wish I would just stop stopping because then I would either stay on top of it or I might actually be able to get ahead of things and get ahead of my finances, get ahead of my writing, get ahead, move forward in things instead of just staying stuck or stagnating or just waiting for I have no idea what. So anyway, I was just, driving around for work and I'm thinking about that and realizing that a lot of my struggles, a lot of things that I haven't finished or done or accomplished is because it's because of myself, because I get in my own way. I just decide to be lazy or that it's not worth it for whatever reason for the day. I give in too often, I think, to my depression, to my excuses. I have a gazillion excuses and all they are is they're just excuses. They're just walls. They're just pebbles things that I put up to build these roadblocks to get in my way. I create my own hurdles that aren't actually there. They're just, like I said, they're mental and emotional hurdles. But something about recognizing that I'm doing that. For me, I think just recognizing that it's there, being aware, is it's one of those things from my 12-step thing that they talk about: awareness, acceptance, and then action. So I have to be aware that there's something going on. I have to be aware that there's something that's out of proportion or not working right in order for me to accept that and then to take some action. And so for me, I think it just helps me to understand myself and to recognize that I'm the one standing in my way of whatever it is that I want to do or accomplish. Like right now with my writing, and I just haven't been writing, so I'm avoiding it. I don't know why I'm avoiding it, because writing is, very therapeutic for me. It's very healing, but it also means in the process of writing that I have to deal with all of the emotions and things that I don't want to deal with. So I'm just like, but it just gets bigger and bigger, and then it gets overwhelming because there's so much to do. But once I start, I always feel better. I always feel better. So it's like I know the things that I can do to feel better and to work past my, to tear down my walls and to move forward. But again, it's that fear of the unknown. It's the fear of change. It's the fear that everything that I'm going to have is just going to be taken away. And so I just, I put up the walls. I stop myself before any of that can happen. It's like I think it's a self-protection thing. I'm trying to protect myself from some future unknown pain or hurt or whatever. And in reality, I'm just preventing myself from moving forward, from healing, from getting better. So it's kind of a self-sabotaging thing, but it's one of those things where it's like subconsciously I'm meaning to help myself, to prevent myself from being hurt, but I'm kind of hurting myself in the process because I'm not allowing myself to move forward and to grow. So it's kind of one of those catch 22 things, I guess. I think it's one of those things that's just distorted, and it's distorted because I think we all have things in our life that, we've had experiences in our lives, and we do things to prevent ourselves from being hurt again. Like if you touch your hand to a hot stove or a hot surface, you're like, okay, that's hot, I'm going to burn myself. And then you try to avoid touching hot surfaces in the future because you don't want to burn yourself. And that's a good thing. That's a positive thing, to prevent yourself, self-prevention, like whatever, to prevent yourself from touching things like that you're supposed to do. But the problem is, I think that kind of also applies to emotional trauma, like getting hurt or abused, and then you don't want to be in that kind of situation again, so you shut off those emotions or feelings so that you don't get hurt again, or you shut out people in your life so they can't hurt you, but then you're alone and lonely and you're like, why am I so sad and alone, and why do I feel so unloved? Because there's nobody in my life, because you're trying to avoid being hurt or abused in the future. So it's like that preventative thing, but then it's also keeping you from finding and having healthy, positive relationships. So it kind of gets messed up when it comes to emotional things, I think. Same with the idea of, like riding a bike. If you fall off when you're learning how to ride a bike or a horse or whatever, and you're training, and it's like, or you get in an accident driving a car and you're like, okay, I got hurt, I'm not doing it again. I'm not doing it again. But just because you got hurt doesn't mean that you can't get back up and do it again, or that you can't learn how to do it. But my problem is, I think I have an overdeveloped sense of self-protection, self-preservation. And so when it comes to things like, okay, riding a bike or riding a horse or whatever, it's like, I did it, I tried it, it didn't work the first time, then we're done. That's it. There are no second chances. Which a lot of my childhood growing up, I was not given second chances to do things. If you didn't do it right the first time or you didn't finish it, then that's it, you're done. There's no second chances. So as an adult, I think my brain still functions that way. And it's very much like, don't touch a hot surface. Like, don't get in a relationship because you're just going to get hurt. And that seems to be the pattern in my life. And I think maybe I subconsciously seek that out somehow, or find what's familiar, but what's familiar is something that I don't necessarily want, and what I do want is not familiar, and it's uncomfortable, so that I don't want, I mean, I do want that, but I don't want that. I don't think that really makes sense. It does really, because I want to be in a healthier relationship. I want to be able to communicate with people. I want to feel loved and appreciated and all of those things. And I want to be able to reciprocate that to other people. But it's hard because I'm having to learn how to do that behavior. I'm having to learn to trust that people like really care about me. They're not going to leave me. They're not going to, hurt me. And I don't want to hurt other people, but I realize that sometimes in not opening up and not sharing, or and when I freak out or get hurt, that I do shut people out, and I do unintentionally end up hurting them because I do shut them out, because I don't explain to them what's going on, because I don't have the best communication skills. So I'm hurting my relationships with other people, in an attempt to protect myself, to prevent myself from getting hurt by them. So and it's that self-sabotaging thing, which is also kind of a self-preservation thing that's just very distorted at this point. It's very distorted. But I'm grateful that I can see it as a self-preservation thing, as a natural thing that my body and my emotions are trying to do to protect myself. But it's been distorted. It's out of whack because I've been hurt so many times. I've been in the wrong types of relationships. I've not been given opportunities, or I've had opportunities taken away from me and not given more than one chance. So it's just kind of like all or nothing. I have to be perfect or I just can't do it. And it's hard to overcome those thought processes and to even recognize that I'm having those thoughts, when I'm just, because sometimes I just feel like, oh, I'm just being depressed, or I'm just being lazy, or I just don't feel like doing it today. And I don't stop and realize that it's a subconscious thing, that it's a self-sabotage thing, that I'm afraid of actually succeeding and doing well. So I make up excuses to avoid doing it, and I always have excuses. There's always an excuse. I can always find something else to do to avoid confrontation, to avoid dealing with situations. I'm really good at that. I'm really good at that. So, like I said, very distorted thought processes, and very much so. Having my sense of self-preservation is good, but it kind of turns into a self-sabotage because it prevents me from growing and moving forward. It's not a healthy thing. I mean, it can be a healthy thing. Like I said, it can be a healthy thing, like not touching a hot surface. That would be awesome. Or staying away from abusive people and situations, or addicts and things like that, because I'm very well aware of the signs of what those types of people are like. But the problem is trusting the people that aren't like that and being like, okay, you're really not like that? Is this real? Are you sure? I'm not really sure. I don't want to get hurt. So then I'm like, I'm just going to stop this. And then I end up probably hurting them instead, which is not good. Which is not really my intent. It's just, that's just how my brain works. I think it's the same with like my writing, and I'll write and I'll share stuff and people are like, oh, this is really good, or you need to change it. I was like, oh, I have to change something. It's not good enough. I can't do this. And then I'm like, wait, yes, I can do this. I've done this. And then I rewrite and I rewrite. And at this point, I'm like, how many times do I have to rewrite before I can get to where I edit and publish? I am so tired of rewriting, and it just makes me want to give up. But I don't, because I have so many story ideas and so many books and so many things that I want to write. So then I just have my excuses, and and I'm like, I'll get to it someday. And I hope someday comes eventually. I hope eventually I can get past all of the hurdles and the walls that I keep building for myself, and I attempt to protect myself. So I don't self-sabotage myself. I don't sabotage myself because I don't like myself or I don't want myself to succeed. I think I sabotage myself because I'm trying to protect myself from being hurt, or from being made fun of, or being abandoned, being left behind, or having whatever I've done taken away from me, or having someone else take credit for whatever it is that I've done. So, I mean, I've had all of those things happen in the past. So it makes sense for me to want to protect myself from having those things happen again. But I have to, at some point, trust God and trust myself, and trust that I can put myself out there like I do with these videos, and it's going to be okay. And there may still be people that choose to mock me. There may still be people that, want to take credit for whatever. There may still be people that, don't watch these videos or abandon, watch a few and be like, okay, I'm not interested, and then leave, don't watch anymore. And that's okay. I just have to remember that that's okay, and that it's not a personal attack on me, and that I'm still okay, even if that happens. And so it's okay for me to move forward. It's okay for me to take those walls down. It's okay for me to be vulnerable and put myself out there. But I'm really grateful to recognize that I don't sabotage myself because I don't like myself or because I don't think I'm capable. I do it because I'm just afraid of getting hurt again, and I'm trying to protect myself. And oftentimes it's a subconscious thing, and I don't recognize that I'm doing it until I'm just up against a wall and I'm so frustrated. I'm like, why can't I get past this point? And then I realize that I'm like, oh, because it's me, because I put up too many walls, and I have to figure out how to take them down myself, or with God's help, or with other people's help. I'm like, okay, I have walls, help me, I need them down. But it's learning to trust. It's learning to trust myself and trusting other people, and learning who I can trust and who I can't trust, and putting myself out there and seeing that I can do things and not get hurt by doing it, and therefore it's okay to continue to do it. So, or I can do things and just not be offended by other people's responses, not be dependent on other people's reactions. I have yet to learn that one because I still am very, very needy and very much so dependent on other people's reactions. When they respond, I respond. Like if they react positively, I'm like, okay, this is good. I very much, I think, need other people's validation. And so when I don't feel validated, then I feel like maybe I didn't do a good enough job. And then I start to doubt myself, and then I just don't want to keep going. So I'm having to learn how to validate myself, and I'm not very good at that either. So again, I'm a little too dependent on other people, and I'm having to learn which people I can trust and believe, and which people not to listen to and not to believe, and not to take it personally, based on their personalities, based on my personalities, based on what I'm trying to do in my life. And not everybody's going to be okay with it. Not everybody's going to agree with, the way I do things, and that's okay. But it's that process, and that's a process of not shutting down every time I feel like I'm being attacked, or every time someone doesn't agree with me or doesn't like the way that I'm doing something. And sometimes I swear that's like an automatic thing. I get a confrontation of some kind, even if people are being nice about it or they're just making a suggestion, and my brain just shut down. Just shutting down. It's like that self-preservation thing, but sometimes it turns into like sabotage. It turns into preventing myself from moving forward, from learning, from growing. And I'm doing better. I am doing better at not sabotaging myself as much, of not making as many excuses. But it's hard. It's really hard. But I am grateful to see it as more of a self-preservation thing instead of a self-sabotage thing. And maybe in looking at it that way, I can start to change it and realize that I'm not in danger. I don't need to protect myself from these things. I need to put myself out there, and that it's okay. It's which is still scary. And it's going to take time. It's not something that's going to be overcome, and it's probably something that I will deal with my whole life, because I learned them when I was little, and they just kind of stuck with me. It's like my little default settings that follow me everywhere I go. And every time something happens in my life, they just pop right back up again. Oh no, trauma. Oh no, we're going to protect you. We're going to protect you. And I'm like, thank you for protecting me. You're just standing in my way. Get out of my way. I don't need to be protected today. So, anyway, that's kind of what I was thinking, my random thought processes and ramblings about self-sabotage and self-preservation. They kind of go hand in hand, and self-preservation is good as long as it doesn't prevent me from, or sabotage me from, succeeding in my goals and from moving forward and growing. So it's finding the balance as to what is good and what isn't, and learning to get that in check so it's not just shutting everything down and, and popping up a gazillion excuses to prevent me from moving forward. So anyway, that's what I have for today. So if you like these videos, you can hit like, subscribe, share with someone else if you think they'll like it too. And I hope you have a great day full of gratitude. Find some fun ways to celebrate yourself and maybe do some writing.